Good viewer, you are watching Xirtus. This is because Xirtus makes you feel good, makes you feel fulfilled. You are enjoying this. You will continue to watch Xirtus for a long time to come. You want to subscribe to Xirtus, and you will. You will like and subscribe and share. You will tell your friends. Tell your friends about Xirtus. Your friends will come to like Xirtus, much as you are liking this right now, as we speak. Thank you for subscribing to Xirtus. See, that was easy.
This next story has been suppressed by mainstream media. Let's go to Andreas for more.
Everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians.
Hello. Welcome to the Xirtus. Tune in for another exciting episode of wonder, imagination, and discovery.
Recent Tartarians.
Она образует всеобщие закономерности, определяющие законы классической физики для нашего
Sometimes I
мира.
look at the moon and just think, your skin's beautiful. Baby, when I met you, there was peace unknown.
Что касается энергии наномер, то она превышает ядерную в немыслимое число раз – 10 в 74 степени.
That's it. That's it. That's it. With your arms now. That's it. That's it.
Thank you for watching Xirtus. Keep listening. Remember, if you enjoyed the video, please follow and subscribe and share and support. It really helps. Coming up next, Xirtus.
By the way, that's gone. If you didn't record that, that's gone forever. It's gone.
Well, while we were trying to talk, Ed somehow stepped out, so hopefully his he gets reconnected. But we were trying to talk with Ed Annunziata. Let me tell you a little bit about our buddy Ed. You know, he made Echo the Dolphin, and I've got some pictures of that. You know, we made a couple videos about Echo the Dolphin, and even I interviewed Ed a little bit about his life, and he's been doing a lot of cool things. He's also working on video games today, like even modern video games. So some of this, check this out. Banana Slugs. How local can you get? That's pretty bae. Based, as Flawed would have inferred. We should talk about that at some point. How Flawed inferred based has to do with the bae, which I like, but then it would be like an exact opposite to hyphy, right? Because E40 hyphy. When you think of the bae, you can't help but think of hyphy, and hyphy is sort of this break free from coolness, because at one point in history, to freak out and be wild was a privilege, right? And so if you were in any sort of socioeconomically disparaged part of society, especially one where you were like racially profiled, you would want to be cool for reasons that were far more objectively important, right? You'd want to be cool, keep your cool, because you didn't want to get, you didn't want to get freaked out. So it's interesting because hippies never understood this, because hippies were freaking out when really the African American in the 60s was trying to be cool because it was really important to be cool. So this is a major reason for East Coast, West Coast rap the way it exists. I think people don't understand that about East Coast, West Coast rap. East Coast rap can be a bit more hardcore, have a bit more to do with the mob, your place in the mob. Oh, look, Ed's back. I was literally going to just talk about rap music until you came back. I was like, I didn't want to ruin it. How you doing?
What?
How
Crap
are you?
Music?
Oh, you don't like rap? Is that a kind of music that you don't love?
No. I'm just kidding. I just love that.
That's true. That's. Did you hear that in New York and like when you were growing up when rap came out? Is that something that people said? Oh, is this crap music? What did people say about rap when it first happened? You were there.
There was some stand-up. There was some stand-up that tricked you into it by he asked the audience, he goes, "Is this music where people speak more than they actually sing? It's what's it called?" And then people be like, "Rap music," and you go, "Crap music." It just worked perfectly, in my opinion. But it's very old.
Well, yeah.
Of
So I
course I
mean,
love rap.
you were listening to music in New York. Did you ever go to like live concerts a lot, or did you see a lot of what kind of stuff did you see when you were younger?
So I did. I mean, what memorable, or maybe you've heard of? I saw the guy who sang. What was that song? Raindrops keep falling on my head.
Oh yeah.
Can you sing that? Sing that.
Raindrops keep falling on my head. It's been a long time. I don't know the rest of the
that?
lyrics.
DJ Summers or something like that. Actually, I saw him and I took a picture of him with my
Raindrops keep
Polaroid
falling.
SX70, and I had a picture of him, and I ran into him in the elevator, and he signed it for me. And I
Nothing
promptly lost it.
worrying.
I don't give a fuck about that guy.
Oh, brutal. Yeah, that could have been worth some money, I'm sure. A name like BJ Thomas. So, but you know, honestly, things that we don't know about that you experienced, probably cooler. Like if you went to a concert, you're like, I went to some horrible show where they didn't know what they were doing in New York. I'm pretty sure that's a better story than anything I've ever heard of. So, to be fair.
You could have any story you want.
Well, all right. One time we did talk about how when you were, you were really into like science and stuff as well growing up. So like, what do you think? Were you able to do both? Like be interested in schooling and then also partying, or did like living your life kind of take over in a sense in your youth?
Wait, your question is, how did you have time for like science and partying? That's your question.
I guess. Or like, did you make choices that like one of those wolves won inside of you, you know?
I don't know. For me, I just followed. All I could see is like a half an inch in front of my face, and I would, what's it called? A drunken walk or Brownian motion. I would just randomly, what's interesting? What's the next thing? Like ultra ADHD. I have CDO. So
what's that? What's CDO?
Up on that shit. OCD, but in alphabetical order.
That's my new favorite, bro. That's
I stole that one too. I just told it in reverse order.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, you're glitching out, dude.
Oh, maybe you're glitching out. I think I could be wrong.
Glitching a little bit.
It could be that you're on a cliff.
Of course.
Yeah, the cliff could be the thing. Yeah, well, that's good, right, Macbeth? I have a contemporaneous story that's kind of ironic. Yeah, we'll go that way. NVIDIA said they're no longer a graphics company, right? And they posted this like it was this big dramatic thing. They're like, "Oh, it's it. We woke up this morning and we realized like it's over. We're just done. And it was just such a spontaneous, like, this happened in the middle of the night. Someone woke up and just realized it. And you're just like, that's literally insane, right? Like, this is what they've been doing since they've done CUDA and everything else.
Yeah. I don't know. So what's my opinion about it, or why they?
Yeah. What do you think about like that? You know, just in general.
Well, it was 2012. They were like, oh, we have a platform for autonomous cars. Remember? Like we're AI now, and they had a run up for God knows how long. So this is like old news, isn't it?
I mean, the NVIDIA Shield.
I guess the idea was, oh yeah, well, yeah, we're finally gonna get rid of all this gaming shit and 3D.
Yeah, it's a cover.
Yeah, it's like we got to compete with, Sam Altman's secret KSA funded chip monolith. Let's not fuck around with games. But I could totally see that. I think it's good. I bet investors are very happy about that little bit of clarity.
Yeah. I wonder what it's going to mean because, the other thing is drone warfare. because in Russia and Ukraine right now, a lot of things have moved to super cheap drones that they can 3D print, manufacture themselves. You seen a drone?
It's a Coast Guard helicopter. I can't see
Oh, that's
it.
cool. He's just making sure you're safe. I like that. That's pretty cool. But I mean, if you've got these drones that the big thing going on with the war right now with the drones is they've got radio powered drones, and so they have jamming wars, and the war is evolving over how you can jam a signal back and forth. Who can jam, and then who can put up another drone that can kind of have a promoted signal, like to keep it going in that kind of a circumstance. So what's really going to matter more are AI driven drones that don't need radio. Exactly. And those are I mean, that's exactly what 2012 the NVIDIA Shield was best used for, right? Like you could put an open cog system in there and the drone would be able to motion track targets, and at that point it doesn't have to have any radio at all, so it can just
think for itself, navigate it for itself.
Right. Access and eliminate targets from, without any radio. Yeah, that's, I think we're at that point, right? That's what it looks like NVIDIA's maybe even gearing up to say it's not a game anymore.
Yeah. Like, here, use these things. Yeah. This is our future. In a weird way, the cheaper the drones get, the more like to the edge they're pressed. You're like right to the edge. How much computational oomph can you get at the very edge, which means as far away from the internet and live power as you could get. And it's like, it's cheaper that way because you don't need even a Wi-Fi radio, right? You don't need anything. You don't need Bluetooth. You don't need, am I still connected with this shit? Oh, you're doing video. Hey, man, that's magical. But yeah, if you could get the edge of intelligence, which, is an inference of one of these AI models, running quantized in some GPU locally, and that's it, then you could stamp these things out. And then once they know about each other, you could have just thousands of them. And then using just normal, tropisms, just normal algorithms, they could easily continuously power themselves from arbitrary ways and hang out together. Strength in numbers. Holy fuck. And, when they're like 50 cents a piece to stamp out or a 3D print, and then what's going to happen? I don't know.
I like also where you're going with this idea of them being able to power themselves. I did this project, right, where drones would have these kind of solar powered like flowers, essentially. So they'd fly down and they'd pick up a battery pack and leave the other battery pack and leave, right? And so you can imagine how quickly drones would be able to build systems like that.
They find power.
Find safe places that no one other drone can find, that they can hide, and then they can actually use those as spots that they can see like flowers and be like, that's where I have to go, and swap batteries.
Yep. Such is the future. But as they get smaller and smaller, and like I said, pushed more and more to the edge, then their power consumption goes down. All the requirements go down. And it gets cheaper, so they get smaller, and it gets pushed to the point where, seriously, they're going to be cheap. And basically, I mean, not even swapping batteries, just have capacitance locally. Since everything is so small, it's not going to need a huge amount of power compared to a bigger drone, right? And then plus, if there's going to be a bunch of them, and you could come up with a quick way of somehow when they bump into each other, the one who has more in their little lithium charging capacitor, if he has more, he gives a few electrons of it to the one that has less.
Oh, just like a piezoelectric bumper car?
Yeah, just let them, and then, just give them a I'm hungry pheromone that it communicates to all the other ones. And then they run over and they, here's some electrons. Little lonely drone. A million drones doing that all at the same time.
That's where we're going.
Do you know where a starling murmuration is? Murmuration?
Is that
starling murmuration? How would you say it? You can easily pronounce that. You're
starling
a
murmuration? Starling murmuration. This it? I would say murmuration. Yeah.
All right. Imagine not starlings, drones. Play that video, man. That is individual birds becoming a giant amoeba, and it's so haunting to look at. But the side note that is interesting, the word murmuration refers to the sound that they make, not the fact that they're all flying together like a giant amoeba in the sky. Starling murmuration.
Yeah, and they've been training AI bots to do murmuration as well. I mean, that's the whole idea of the hive mind bots.
Fuck yeah.
And if you go to like photovoltaic graphene, right, then you get to the point where the entire surface is printed and the paint is a labyrinth that the light just kind of runs through and fills up instantly with energy.
Light plants.
Yeah. So what do you think about that, though? Because we talked a lot now about like technology, but what do you think about biomimicry? Because you're talking a lot of these things are like trying to emulate nature, right? So how far should we go with biomimicry and maybe just making GMO bees? I don't know.
Doesn't it seem like it's so like obvious that like we go towards the whole biomimicry isn't that we're imitating it, it's that biology already found the optimal solutions to this shit. I mean, look at us. We're walking around inventing LLMs and flying in space and being all Elon Musk-ish. I mean, that's we're fucking amazing. So that's my point.
So that's another thing. A lot of people get into this sort of idea of like, how can we, how special are we? You know, like the human condition. And people talk about suffering a lot, right? And so what do you think about simulation theory or spirituality or chaos theory, or why is there so much freaking suffering in our world? What do you think that's about?
Oh man, I don't know, man. That's a Buddha question. I don't really know. I do. One thing I will say that if you could quantify, not qualify, quantify suffering. If you could say, okay, this group or this city or this country has a suffering, how much they cause, a suffering score that could be quantified, I think that would do the world a lot of good. It's like, how much suffering do you cause? You carnivores, for example, there's an amount of suffering you put into the universe that our country does. 65 billion chickens a year. That amount of suffering is how much our country outputs, and that could be scored somehow. And then versus other countries. And then once we have a score just like that, just like carbon emissions, then we could do something about suffering instead of just talk about it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we got to get the score down. How do we get the score down overall?
My first thought is the Fight Club, though, right? The first thought is Fight Club. That scene in Fight Club where he's got he's telling him his job, and he's just like, "We run a car company. I'm checking for accidents. If the cost of the amount of accidents is in insurance, it costs to pay off these people who've been in accidents is less than the amount of a total recall, then we don't recall." You know. And so then it becomes very utilitarian, because it's like a lot of people still suffer and die because of the trolley problem, but we just let it happen because, you know, it would cost more to fix it.
Solve the problem by quantifying suffering like that. So you can't hack this. You can't gain the suffering score with the mechanism that you just described.
You can't make more. You can't
counter that.
If there's a bunch of suffering in the world, though, like if people. Are you saying that suffering can be mitigated by acts of goodness? Like, so the country does a lot of philanthropic. Okay, can't be.
No, just less suffering.
Okay, cool. Yeah, then I agree.
Don't even think of it as suffering. Suffering is too philosophical. Just think of it as chickens. Like, how many chickens do you kill? In China, they hardly kill chickens. They worship the bird. Here, we just go through them like air. So if we use chickens as a score of suffering, we are an emitter of suffering above and beyond China. But if you're talking about like dogs as food, as suffering, Korea is a place where you get dog in restaurants there. They eat a lot of dogs, so the dog suffering score for Korea would be high. See what I'm saying? South Korea.
Right.
Or anything about North Korea.
That's pretty interesting.
So that just because as soon as you put a score to something, then you could apply an algorithm to it. You could watch it. That's analytics, right? It's like, hey, everybody, how much did you like the content you've just seen? Everybody claps. That's like a metric that you use. And if everybody claps, that's great. You're doing good. If nobody claps, you're like, oh, we got to improve our content next time. So once you have a score, you could do shit. And that's how the world is going to work now.
Isn't that kind of how it always works? I was reading The Unreasonable Effectiveness of Mathematics and Natural Sciences by Eugene Wigner. You know that paper? It's like from the 60s, but it's about how crazy pure mathematics and applied mathematics that we'd think, when they're made, people are like, what use are we going to have for this crazy amount of math back in the 19th century or the 1950s or whatever? That all of a sudden they're applicable in all of these real world ways. Because as soon as we have some data, we can plug it in and we can find the curve, we can find the line, we can find, the change.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like math is everything.
Well, where you were going initially, all right, so the background is math. That's what I think. I think outside of the universe is all the math. Or you're talking about the unreasonable effectiveness of math is that, we came up with an equation that works so well in the physical world again.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how is it? Wait. How do we come up with these symbols and stuff? And we could just predict, where, like ballistics, where we could throw a cannonball based on energy and an angle and wind. How are we able to calculate that? And it's like, it's unreasonable that math should be that powerful. And then when you turn into a math nerd and you lean into math, it gets even more unreasonably effective. Like, look at particle physics. The Higgs boson, they figured that shit out with math. They confirmed it with a physical experiment with the collider, wherever that is. Where is that? Switzerland or somewhere?
Technically.
Wherever it is, a huge collider. They showed evidence of the Higgs boson, but Higgs, that dude, figured it out with math first. So math is unreasonably effective. Why? And then so is math just in our heads? Like, if everybody died, would there be math in the universe?
Well, that's another question, right?
That's a key question. If there is, that means math is in the universe whether we are or not. They refer to that as Platonist. That's Platonist thinking. Is that there's a background reality, and it's there. And I think of it as like metal plates bolted to the ground. And this is math. This is the logic of math. Like the L function. You know what I'm talking about? Prime number shit. Don't even get me started on that. It's scary. Anyway.
No, it's math. Real. That's the thing. And so it's weird because part of that question then is with metaphysics, because we're looking at math and then we make these hypotheses because of, is it just a function of reality that we find what we're looking for? Are we making it by using math? Or is math the real thing? And like, because if math's the real thing, in a way, math and CRISPR in DNA kind of, to me, prove in like this divine principle idea that behind it all there are, like, even though in this reality we don't have straight lines and curves, in divine principle we have straight lines and curves, right? We have geometry, justice, love, and all these ideas. Which, that does sound kind of Neoplatonic.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's definitely a level above the Platonism. I mean, the transcendental beauty of pi, isn't nearly as interesting as the things you just mentioned. because it's just a very low level, like a metal plate bolted to the ground. It's just a foundation that other things could be built on. So morality, intelligence, memory, like the universe is really fucking bad at memorizing shit. It had to invent life so that life could carry the information forward and not let the elements, decay it. Right? I mean, a crystal lasts 10,000 years, but it holds so little information. So it's a long-term data resilience. It's like a floppy disk. It's worthless. But a human could carry a huge amount of information forward beyond physical capability of holding information. So memory is the most important thing in the universe. So if we could figure out a way to memorize everything as long as possible, we'll get to live longer and longer and longer. Because the universe will find a way to keep us around. So these guys are memorizing things. That's good.
I've been thinking a lot about that. I mean, we have, we're talking about machines, right? Like you have these adeno acid chains that are able to make these amazing patterns, and you just change one of the materials and all of a sudden you have a completely different density, surface area, oxidation level, half-life.
Completely different protein.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you could replace oxygen, you could replace the iron in your blood with titanium and hold your breath for a month. The things that can come.
Yeah. So the physical, so the arbitrary. So what you're saying is, isn't there a way to physically, upgrade everything, and get away from just the carbon-based biology, and go for something more resilient and cooler? And I totally think that's the future. I think that's the future of all life. It gets to that point where it intelligently makes itself, and it just goes, whew. We're right at a tipping point, so we could go either way, in my opinion. But look, so here's what's cool about biology. It doesn't do everything perfectly. It does whatever it could fucking get away with. So even the splitting of DNA to make 2 DNA molecules, there's 2 enzymes that will put the split DNA back together to make 2 molecules. There's 2 of them. One of them is like a zipper. It easily just gets other atoms that are floating around in the cytoplasm and clips it to the half DNA that it has, or really the RNA that it has. The other one, because it's a mirror image, the new atoms that get adhered to it have to go in the opposite direction. So the enzyme has to do this. It takes like a long chain.
Oh, they cut him off. This is the part they don't want you to know. Well, he'll be back. The DNA gyrase, aka the topoisomerase, moves in advance of the helicase and relieves the strain, preventing supercoiling, right? So this, as it's pulling apart, this is holding it together. So one thing is kept in a loop around it, kind of like a cephalopod's mouth, right? As it's holding it together, as this is breaking apart. And then the Okazaki fragment, as they're saying here, or this like polo helicase, is added, right? And then the single strand of the RNA of new binding proteins is added in to the topomerase, and the topomerase squeezes it back together as it's then tied into a DNA strand. Oh, Ed, he'll be back in a second. Oh, Ed, you'll see him super soon. I'm pretty sure. I should look up. Let me see. There he is. You back? You got cut off for a second there as you were talking about the helicase being uncoiled in the DNA replication.
Look for an animation of
DNA replication. Oh, did you get cut again? Oh, it's fun to walk or talk. I'm a big fan of it too. The replication of DNA is super based. Here you'll see, boop. This is probably going to be like in trouble if I play the video. But see, it's like a zipper, yo. It's like a zipper. He's not wrong. But it's not like a zipper. That's just how the animation looks. It's actually like explosions, which is really interesting because life is made out of chemicals in geology, right? Essentially, a geosphere. The geosphere then has these explosions, which are timed. So it's like these timed bombs that are set up, and it's like the Twin Towers. They're waiting to be detonated. So at a certain point, they will have a chemical explosion, and then that makes a particular color, which then also makes not just a color. It's a phenomenon that occurs, but we experience it as a color when we tint or for pictures. The what's it called? Electrospectrosity, right? So anyway, you then see DNA learning from that explosion, and it makes new bombs that are waiting to be detonated, essentially. So that's how DNA is able to predict itself. So it really is a system of geology, but it's a system of geology with chemicals that are able to predict the future based on events that have occurred in the past, and it's doing it in such a way that it has a constant strain of data that's happening. And so Spinoza might say, like, an object does not have an action without being reacted to. So this is already being reacted to from some primordial something happened that causes this to happen, right? This is why Lemaire talks about like a Big Bang, right? It's not necessarily that it's the only Big Bang or it's the kind of Big Bang you learned in school, but there's something kind of this primordial lightning that happened. Is Ed still? No, just checking for Ed. So you can call that whatever you want. The point is that at some point geology then starts to have repetition. So it is really interesting to me because the RNA primer here, it doesn't, I mean, some people would say then, okay, well then that just proves atheism. But I would disagree with that because I think what it does is it adds nuance to our understanding of the divine principles and the sophisticated architecture of this system. The fact that CRISPR exists and you have so many examples of information error correction infers that this thing already is looking for divine principles, right? And that you can constantly see that it's finding a way to rezip back together because of, I think we've now discovered, was it like 290 different kinds of CRISPR, and AI has found like 1,100 different kinds of CRISPR. So the fact that there's all of these systems of error correction, we need to understand those way better to understand how that naturally would start to occur in nature. So yeah, here it is as it starts to...
the two parent strands of DNA are anti-parallel, they are oriented in opposite directions.
I'm so going to get in trouble for playing this video. Anti-parallel leading strand, DNA polymerase strand, and then, yeah, so as this cartoon unfolds the way it is also interesting because it's then saying this is like clockwork. And then, yeah, here they are where it's pulled together. Look at this. As it unravels, it becomes a straight chain. This is, right? It comes out here, and it unravels and becomes a straight chain. And then here it unravels and becomes a straight chain. And then when these two meet together, that's where, boom, the leading strand and the RNA primer strand. Here's the lagging strand. So the primer strand then adds, and then they tie in. And this is how they make a tied loop. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty amazing. But it looks like Dr. Seuss, honestly. It's crazy how this is the most sophisticated form of nature. And it's using lots of curves, straight lines, explosions, things that you would think of as being like crazy and dangerous. But that's how it all functions. And it's going on all the time. It's just exploding all the time. And yeah, because of that, it requires energy. So the more energy you can consume, the less degradation to your DNA, to the data in your DNA, because it actually has to use that DNA, which is why you lose elasticity. And this isn't just about telomeres, but it's important, which is why, Ian is all about, if you've heard on his show, some of the supplements that he thinks are great. I'm not saying you should just like run out and get ribonucleic, what's it called? Mononicotinamide, and there's another thing you add, mononicotinamide. I don't know. We did a 35-minute show. I was trying to do something like 35 minutes anyway. So maybe we'll do another thing with Ed. I'm just going to see if he's got signal or if he's coming back. In the meantime, also, I'll show you a couple more things. that I did want to look at. It is cool that he brought up the L functions, because looking at the meromorphic function on a complex plane associated one out of several categories of mathematical objects in L series is a Dirichlet series, usually converging on a half plane. This may give rise to the L function via analytic continuation. The Riemann zeta function is, for example, of an L function, and one important conjecture involving L functions is the Riemann hypothesis and its generalization, which is a conjecture that the Riemann zeta function has its zeros only at the negative even integers and complex integers with real part 1/2. Many consider it to be the most important unsolved problem in pure mathematics. It is the greatest interest in number theory. It is of greatest interest in number theory because it applies results about the distribution of prime numbers. It was proposed by Bernard Riemann in 1859, after whom it is named. So here are the trivial zeros. Here are the non-trivial zeros. Here's your pole. So the trivial zeros are in between -4 to -2, whereas the non-trivial zeros are on a y, -14, I think, to -14. So, I mean, this ends up being practical in really weird ways, and we don't know why. But it ends up having a lot to do with our, functions on like pH scales and nature, nautiluses, wind, toroids, probably more interesting stuff than even that, having to do with photons, neutrinos, the ideas of the workings of the stuff of matter, the stuff of atoms, right? Like the inner parts of things, like the pentaquarks relies on this as well. Oh, I see him. He's back.
Do you hear me?
I'm just talking about Riemann, the Riemann hypothesis. I was like, I don't know how I can buy time.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I do.
Oh man! So randomly the phone just stopped working.
You were on to something really important. They didn't want you to disclose the truth.
So I had some dude from San Jose calling me over and over and over, and he wouldn't stop, and I kept canceling, and I think somehow that fucked it up. So sorry about that.
No, that's cool. Do you want to go back to DNA, or because I was on Riemann's hypothesis for a second?
That was a lousy animation that you were showing. There's another one. Sorry. There's another one that's so good because it shows it like in real time and very like accurately. Like if you were that small, this is what the enzyme is doing, and this is what you would see. But it's all in theory, so I shouldn't even bring it up. But what the point is, that animation will show the flaw in biology's way of solving this problem. Like biology had to come up with a way of splitting the DNA molecule into two and perpetuating all of life. And at the time, what worked wasn't the optimal solution. And this animation makes it very clear.
Is this the one?
No, it's close though. That's the area. Is it a play? Is it animated?
I'm worried if I play it, we're gonna get in trouble playing someone else's clip.
No, that's not it.
I can play it for like a few seconds and stuff, but
not it.
All right.
Sorry.
I like the way it looks and has a British lady. No, okay. What else can I search to find it? What would be something associated with it? Harvard or
what is the enzyme that builds the DNA molecule? Can you look up that?
The helicase or
no. There's a so DNA replication. Google that. Animation DNA replication 3D real time.
3D real time. Okay.
There's this dude in Australia did these animations, and they're just like boom, like pink pudding on the ceiling of brain tissue. After seeing this one, but you'll it's not it. That's not it. It's not cartoony. It looks hauntingly realistic and frenetic. But let's stop talking about it since we can't find it, and I should have never.
Well, you know what? No, you should have brought it up. And next time, what's gonna happen is you're gonna find it like in a few hours or like tomorrow, and like so then we'll just show it next time, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting because it is a thing people get upset about. Like, oh, this is propaganda. We can't look at DNA at this level. Oh, this looks cool. Is this what we're looking at? Maybe? No.
No.
Oh, but I've never gone into it like this. I love it. Okay.
Pretty cool.
People do hate though, because they're like, oh, you can't see this stuff, and
well, you can with an electron tunneling microscope. You can take
right.
pictures of individual atoms. So what was you can't. What were they
That's
saying?
the thing. What they don't like, though, of course, is that the pictures that you're getting are not like a picture. It's like a data, plant per se. It's not technically a photo, right? But it is a graph. It's an electron
Well,
graph.
it is a photo in that, like, the way a photo works is you shoot a photon at it and you record it, and this does the exact same thing. And the recording device is it's electrons in the recording device.
Electrograph.
Little tiny needle. So it's in theory it's the exact same. Yeah, but electron and the way they do it lets you look at something a lot smaller than a photon will let you.
Right. So people will try to like be upset about it, but I think it's pretty realistic to say that we know how DNA functions. I think we know.
Yeah,
it's just
not theory.
Yeah. And it's also interesting how things kind of replicate in nature. So our idea is we look at a cell and then we're like, well, a cell in space, right? Like these things, like macrocosm, microcosm, we seem to love to say that things are really similar if we can find it in, because math is math, right? So if one thing works away in a small scale, maybe it works the same way in a big scale. I mean, we have problems with that in quantum physics, but how much of that do you think is real, that we can look at how, things are made in the image of the thing over and over again?
About the different levels of scale, like going from quantum particles all the way up to galaxies in black holes.
Yeah,
so
like
from black holes.
Yeah.
The quantum physics. The thing you were saying was there's a gap of understanding between, like, they have quantum mechanics down, and they have all the Einstein space-time curvature stuff down, like math.
Maybe more than they used to, yeah. And with the math, I think especially.
A lot more than they used to. So these are not theory either. So these two things, but how do they come together? There's a big gap because it doesn't make any sense. How's the quantum shit make black holes? But that's a lot of understanding that's in our future as a species. But they got the bookends, and like I said, it isn't theory. I mean, this is real. There's a lot of understanding about these topics.
Right. I think that's the thing that's kind of interesting. We know more about the math than we do about how to apply it yet. Like we know so much, we can prove a formula so much better than we can apply it. And as time goes on, we still continue to be able to apply it. So I think things are changing though. Like, what do you think about also, like, some people think everything's a lie, right? They think that like everything NASA's ever said is a lie, that like we never went to the moon and everything like that. Do you think that there is maybe some amount of science that is 1984 Orwellian, like there to trick us, to keep us from knowing the truth? Like maybe there's a secret math or a secret science that's even more true?
Well, so
gatekeepers.
If you're really honest about all these things, if you back, but am I fucked up again with the audio?
No, I hear you.
Hear me?
You're
okay?
great. You're doing great.
Yeah. So if you think about it and you zoom all the way back into yourself as a pile of brain cells. What was the question? This is the right way to go, but just tell me what the question was.
First off, Michael Jones, look up Lemaire, because like don't worry about the guy who ripped off Lemaire. But then second off, the question I guess was about gatekeepers, secret science, if like some of the science out there is just a lie to keep you from knowing the secret true science or something.
So all your brains could do is feel clicks from other brain cells. Click, 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 click. And then you take all those clicks and you put them together and in your brain with your own virtual game engine in your mind. That's how you see reality. So what you see is not objective reality. It's not as Platonist as math is. It's not really there. It's your interpretation. And there's a really good way of thinking about it. I came up with this recently. People that have two eyes that could see stereo, remember those posters that used to be like just dots? And it's like a pink array of dots, but if you you focus on it and you cross your eyes a little bit, boom, you see a sailboat. You know those things? They're called spectrograms or something like that.
Yeah, it's in the Mallrats movie.
Yeah, all right. So you get these posters and you look at it, and you see a two-dimensional array of dots randomly.
There it is.
And then if you try hard with
You're getting some
eyes,
glitch there.
shape moving from two brain.
You got some glitch there. Hold still for a second.
Three-dimensional reality. You hear me?
Yeah, if you hold still for a second. Say that again.
No?
I hear you now. Just say it again and just hold still. It's 5G's not here yet. That's the problem. I hear you though. I hear you. You're good. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Ed. Okay, well, while he's doing that. No, look at that. Can you see the sailboat? I can, if I stare back just a little bit, I see the sailboat base. Or how about there? Smaller? Smaller you can see it, right? Now you can see the sailboat? Anybody? No? No? You can't? Oh, well. Yeah, the sailboat's important. I mean, you can see the sailboat. I love Mallrats. Mallrats is such a great movie. It's so good. There was a thing that happened recently. Jordan Peterson, hold on. Jordan Peterson on what was this thing? I just saw this video the other day. You back? I hear you. I hear you. Are you there? What's up, buddy? Hello?
Hello.
Hey, what's up? I hear you.
Hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Huh.
What's up?
I'm just
Can you hear
sitting
me?
here. Yeah. How are we connected?
Pretty good. I hear you perfectly. Well, okay. One of the things I was gonna say, I saw like Jordan Peterson the other night was talking about how atheism is kind of like leading people. Atheism was a cool idea, like with Spinoza, you know, and Elon Musk was talking about that. He was saying like he believes in the God of Spinoza and everything because it has to do with understanding the natural mechanisms of the world and everything like that. And people often misunderstand Spinoza as an atheist or a pantheist, but that with a lot of science started out religious, right? You have these churches were looking for the truth, philosophers were looking for the truth, and so because of that, they ended up building like, you know, even schools are built in the style of churches, and they're towards like this idea of like the objective truth. But now we're at a point where a lot of people say there is no objective truth, and so science and education might be falling apart. Do you think that that's true, or is maybe we're supposed to?
No, that's ridiculous. I mean, it's amazing what is known now. You should be very impressed with all your science and math friends of the shit that is understood is amazing. There's no falling apart. There's no clickbait view on reality that has any truth. I'm telling you, man, that everything is moving well, and as far as understanding goes. We have a problem where sometimes we're like, hey, look, if you do this, you get this atomic bomb thing. Quick, let's throw it on some countries. So that's our problem. That our behavior,
right, things working too well.
But there's levers in the universe, and we keep discovering them. Those guys who invented the atomic bomb from nothing did it in the 40s. So it's like, shit, man, they understood a lot of things. Now it's 2023. We've built on the shoulders of those dudes, and nuclear physics and math and everything. There's fields of science, verticals of science. I don't even know what you would call them, that we don't even know what they are or how to even say them. I don't even know what I'm talking about when I refer to them. That's how obscure. That's how obscure they are. Look at the fractal. I mean, and then you zoom in forever. What?
So do you feel like the problem is that a lot of people don't know how far science is? I think a lot of people are 20, 40 years behind, or they were educated 20, 40 years ago by people who are 20, 40, 60 years behind, and they don't actually know the real state of things. Like how esoteric is truth? I mean, because not a lot of people have math degrees.
Yeah. Well, so we're very clever, and you know that saying, when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. And even like
Mm-hmm.
the word assume, if you're just assuming something, it seems negative. But honestly, we evolved to assume, because if you assume something really quickly, you could really save your life. Like, I assume this thing coming at me really fast is going to kill me. So making a quick assumption is life-saving. And for 5 billion years, we evolved to assume. So when we assume things very, very quickly, that's us taking an intellectual shortcut, because A, there's no undos in the universe, so we better be right the first time, and knowing it sooner gives you time to react, right? The thing that's coming at you, you got to decide and then act. So, yeah, do you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Inferences are the,
Right. So
they don't teach kids how to make inferences anymore.
So just, we're not humans. Imagine we're just a big flock of chickens, and we're all hanging out together. And we're all, and all we do is listen to what the other people are saying, because we don't have time to learn all of math and particle physics and medicine and philosophy and all these fucking things. We don't have time for this. We don't even have time. We don't have time for our own jobs and our own kids. So we have to depend on all the other chickens. We have to depend on them. So our ability to judge truth quickly is very important to us. And that's why we're addicted to clickbait, because it's served up to us. And it's most clicky if it's panicky or dramatic.
Yeah, and it says you don't have to actually know. It says you don't actually need to know this thing because it's not. You just. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's so easy.
Clickbait. You know what I mean by clickbait? Like, the media or journalists have now become headline copywriters that are designed to simply make you click on them, because they're going to pump other ads at you if you click on it. So the actual click is money. So the headline is bait to get you, the fish, to bite. That's what clickbait is, right?
Right.
Is it so obvious, or?
It's pretty. It's no. You're there.
So
I hear you. Oh, now you're losing audio.
It's very. Seriously?
No, I'm hearing you now.
You hear me?
Yeah, you're good. You're back.
All right, you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So our quick assumption view of the world every day while we're trying to raise our kids and do our jobs, our quick view.
Yeah, assumptions are interesting because it does make things like way easier to live in your immediate state. You don't have to like make all those decisions and process all those things. So it saves you a lot of time. And you can make a lot of decisions without knowing what's going on. So people do. I mean, clearly a lot of people live their entire lives, without knowing what's going on, living in a lie, and they're fine. So there's that. You have to acknowledge. That's I think a reason why postmodernism seems to work, because people are able to do that. I'll look at some of these comments here too. Someone says, if you next you'll want to include bacteria and virus in your suffering math. Yes, I do. Actually, this is something I want to talk about, because the idea that the human experience is somehow like it has to survive. It's suffering isn't necessary. That's the thing that I think is really weird. I've been talking to people that keep thinking like, oh, well, the universe could exist without suffering. It's like, well, that would be less phenomenological diversity. And so, no, it wouldn't. You could make a lesser simulation that had less, suffering in it, but that would be lesser, right? And so it would lack that struggle. And I know that seems kind of cliche, but maybe that's part of the reason why suffering exists. Hey, there he is. What's up?
Hey, man.
So yeah, you were just saying about quick assumptions of the world and how it it can be useful but also troublesome.
Yeah, because we want to judge how the world is as quickly as possible, and we have to do it that way. And so, the only thing you can really do is try to up your game when it comes to choosing which clickbait you're gonna chomp on. like sources that you trust. I mean, it's the best thing you could do. But that's just the reality of it. So like we're one, 7 billion people mind. We're one big thinking thing, especially now with the internet, and how we interact with each other is our species intelligence, and that's cool in my opinion.
So another thought is also human versus the superhuman. So we think of ourselves a lot of the time as humans. Like, we're like, okay, I am a human, right? But if you really think of it, like, we're a superhuman organism that is immortal, essentially. Like, it could be. It's never died yet, because people die, like cells die in the thing. But the human experience has been going on for a very long time and will continue to.
It's been, how long has it been so far? I don't know what you count as the beginning, but it's been a long time.
This is a good question. Do you start at Elohim or do you start at Adam? What do you do? And with transhumanism, like, where do we go if humanity becomes something else? I mean, humans can die out, right? Like, that's a thing that could happen, in the long run. Like, it might not be the thing that carries, like, the consciousness, the torch the furthest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, like you were saying before, little by little, the biology could be replaced by, superior materials, and we're just bio machines in the future.
I saw something that was like the 7 best case scenarios for the future of humanity, and one is like status quo, where people essentially who are in power now end up in power and build a world that they remain in power. A bright green earth future where things become sort of techno-Gaianist and everything is cleaned up, but of course industrialism kind of dissipates because it lacks a need. Watched over by machines of loving grace. People love this one. The idea that AI will just be this benevolent thing that is in the fashion of God, the way people wanted it to be their guardian angels, to boldly go where no one's gone before, like the Martian colony, go places, do things. Inner space, not outer space. People becoming deeper and deeper into the hyper reality and the light experience. Eternal bliss, people just becoming obsessed with feeling no suffering and turning on all the like Neuralink drugs and sex, drugs, rock and roll, and then cosmological transcension, this idea that like we'd become one singularity or more, or become like more like our God, and then build worlds and everything like that. Those seem to be like the goals a lot of people spread. But the one that scares me the most, I think, is the status quo idea, that we realize that humans, why the future doesn't need us. And then we decide the best thing to do is just to kill the future, stop the future from happening, so that we live in a Luddite past that allows humans to be the supreme species. Because I think that'd be almost what would have to happen if we didn't evolve with the times, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, it doesn't seem likely to me. It seems like those are dumb ideas, and I think only smart. I think going forward, only really, really smart ideas are going to take root. I don't think dumb ideas are going to go anywhere.
I agree.
Yeah, of course. It's fucking total shit.
But humans will try to slow things down. Do you think that how fast are things going to happen because of how slow things are? How much they try to slow them down? Ed! Well, you know what, guys? I think this is actually pretty cool. I like what we're doing here. Just like making Ed plug his phone back in. But, we should do this again. I think what we'll do is we'll set up a second one because we've done an hour. Because there's a lot more we could talk about. And it is interesting that looking at the future and why the future doesn't need us, in the sense of it doesn't need the past. But that doesn't mean we can't be the future. That doesn't mean we cannot prepare our children for the future. And I think it's kind of funny because you can organically evolve too. Like epigenetically, you can change your mind. You can learn things. People forget how important knowledge is. So just want to say that. We'll do another show soon. I guess 2 hours from now, I'm going to be doing Sync Tank. So I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Peace. Oh, I should play like an outro video, huh? Where's that out?
This next story has been suppressed by mainstream media. Let's go to Andreas for more.
Everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians.
Hello. Welcome to the Xirtus. Tune in for another exciting episode of wonder, imagination, and discovery.
Recent Tartarians.
Она образует всеобщие закономерности, определяющие законы классической физики для нашего
Sometimes I
мира.
look at the moon and just think, the skin's beautiful. Baby, when I met you, there was peace unknown.
Что касается энергии наномер, то она превышает ядерную в немыслимое число раз. 10 в 74 степени.
That's it. That's it. That's it. With your arms now. That's it. That's it.
Thank you for watching Xirtus. Keep listening. Remember, if you enjoyed the video, please follow and subscribe and share and support. It really helps. Coming up next, Xirtus.
By the way, that's gone. If you didn't record that, that's gone forever. It's gone.